We have a desktop app. I'm going to flip over to my Windows desktop here. We've got to get the screen started here for you guys. Let's rewind here. Let's make sure that everybody's screens are coming in now. Everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my apologies. I was meant to kind of start it as we launched through here, but you know, just kind of everybody knows where Southern California is. This was a price file listing that we have here. And so this is the way we deliver the price files. We have a desktop app called a price file loader, and the price file loader basically is used to deliver price updates to you. So this app goes on the desktop of your server, and with this app we're able to deliver price files to you. So if there's an updated Mercury file, we'll update Mercury. I know a lot of you are Mercury dealers. You know, we can host a file here on our server. Once a month you can ping our server, or more often if you want, but we only make one Mercury file a month. No, Mercury has weekly updates that you can also download from their system directly into Commander. We've written code for that if people want to load their weekly updates. But typically once a month, you'll simply open this app, choose the file that you want to load for the vendor that you're looking to load, and then you know that'll give you the ability to download the file that you're looking to load. So I click on Mercury, for example, check for updates, that grabs the file and moves it to your system. Now, in Commander, we have an items list on the left-hand side, and the items list, sorry folks, hold on a sec. We've got one more dealer, I guess, trying to join. They should all.
I just lost you.
Sorry, we're still, still here. My apologies. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, but I've lost the screen.
You've lost the screen.
Yeah.
Go ahead and move your mouse.
I am.
Did the screen go black? Sometimes when your screen sits idle for a while, it'll go black, and then it's just because you. Do you have it back?
No, I've just got it. Went back to connected to GoToMeeting, and your meeting is on.
Okay. Check in your tray. Check in your tray down at the bottom. There should be a little GoToMeeting icon in the bottom. You can click on that, and that'll sometimes bring it back up.
Okay.
And if not, you know, if you've lost it, pardon?
Then what do I do? I'm just
well. What do you have on your screen? I mean, if it's disconnected for some reason, you might have to close it on your side and just reconnect the way you did before. You won't lose the audio portion unless you're doing it through the computer. If you're on a phone call, you'll still be on the audio portion. You know, feel free to close. You can close GoToMeeting and then relaunch it if you need to.
Okay. I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Everybody else still seeing my screen here? Software for marine dealers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, we have about 12 dealers in this meeting, so you know it's well below our capacity. I think we can do 26 as a max. So there's still plenty of room for additional folks to join. So talking about the price files land in our items list, which is this nut and bolt on the left-hand side here. And I've got different price files loaded for different industries that we deal with, of course, because we also deal with power sports, and that's great for some of you folks because you're combinations of marine and combo dealers of both, you know, power sports and marine. But the data lands in the system kind of in Excel spreadsheet form like this, where you have the part number and you have the description and the pricing all already preloaded for the items that you have. These items at the beginning of the Mercury file are items without any pricing because they don't provide pricing with them anymore. But typically the item number is in the screen. You have the UPC code. That means we can use a barcode scanner. You'll have your description, and your cost and your retail price will be preloaded. Let's click on a land and see file to show you what that looks like. So here's a typical item that has part number, UPC code, description, cost, and then of course their suggested selling price. Now, In Commander, we're able to customize our sale price. If we want to bump it for some reason, we can put a formula into the program. Everything from 99-cent rounding, quarter rounding, nickel rounding. You can do all kinds of crazy things with pricing if you want to. And there's 9 additional price points that you can customize also. So if you have special price points that you like to keep in your systems, maybe cost plus a percentage for certain dealers you sell to or independent shops you sell to, you can do that. You can use a series of formulas. I don't typically demo them, but just they work very similar to Excel-style formulas where you open up that specific price book and you go into the back of the price book and ask it to set up a series of rules which will be applied every time you load a new price book. So every time the price book loads, it runs this series of rules and updates these particular fields. If you didn't want to update your cost price, you would deselect it. But down here at the bottom are rules that you can set up for creating special price points. So for example, I could say, well, okay, I want to customize my sell price, and I just want to add 10% to it. So I want to make my sell price equal to the regular list price, but I want to multiply that by 1.1. So if I put a 1.1 in there, that's going to apply a formula of 10%, a 10% bump each time I load the selling price. And so those are kind of the simplest methods. We can also use conditions to have that formula only apply to a range of parts. You know, if the part is less than 99 cents, automatically set the sell price to 99 cents, or $1.99 if it's less than, you know. So there's all kinds of different rules that people will apply. The beauty of this is we can use a barcode scanner. So I'm just going to copy and paste the UPC code and then draw your attention to the top left here. This is where we look for an item. So if we're adding inventory to the system, when we go ahead and we scan in the item, it's going to come right up for us like this. We can put in our stock. Let's say we have 2. Put in a bin location if we want to enter a bin location, and then save it. And that's the only work you have to do to put inventory into the system. So your work is minimal. You're just maintaining that stock count because we don't know how many you have on the shelf. We can also set a stocking level down here on the detail tab if we want to set min maxes, if folks are familiar with that concept. If this falls below 4, let's order back to 12, for example. Fast moving items that you know you want to keep on the shelf, you want to set min maxes for. That way when your stock falls below the minimum, this part will trigger for reorder. It's not automatic. There is a stock order that you run. The stock order is based on the min maxes, and you can preview it. It'll pick up the items that you're low on, and you can then say, okay, put those on my suggested ordering pad. It doesn't actually order them at that point. It sends them to something called the PO pad or the purchase order pad, which is simply a digital notepad that collects items that need to be ordered. And we'll talk a little bit more about ordering a little bit further in the demo. So at this point, what I want to do is I want to show also that we can print a barcode label from here. Right mouse click, print a barcode label, and you're going to get a label. Putting the price on it is optional. So if we go back to our PowerPoint here, we'll touch on a few of the different things we're talking about at this stage of the demo. One of them would be the barcode scanner. Windows network, of course, based on the number of computers. We can send you the hardware specifications for Commander. If anybody needs those, just email me after the demo and say, please send me hardware specs. But essentially, we don't need a full-blown Windows server. So if you don't have a Windows server or full-blown Windows server running a server OS, it doesn't matter. If you're running 4, 5, 6 workstations, we can use a Windows 10 machine, a 64-bit box, and we can load Commander on that and use that as a server. If you have a server, we of course will load Commander onto your server. Each workstation then gets a copy of our client software and then is able to access the data on the server. We only load price files on the main computer. We don't have to load them on each individual computer. So you're just updating that one machine and it updates the entire system. Everybody then has access to the data that's on that server. There is security in the system. If you don't want people to access certain things, run reports, whatever, there's extensive security. But just to move back to these peripheral devices, barcode scanner is something I would recommend everybody have a barcode scanner for a couple of reasons. I mean, since all these parts have UPC codes on them, why would I want to type in part numbers when I could just scan them? Both for taking a physical inventory, we could use a scanner, and also for putting parts into stock or putting them on invoices, selling parts, putting them on work orders. The scanners are very, very handy. We're currently selling, if you want to make notes or if anybody's making notes, The barcode scanner that we're currently selling is a Honeywell 1902. So if you want to make a note on that, I'll bring my Google search across here, and we'll just chat briefly about this scanner. This is a Bluetooth scanner that we've selected. Also can take physical inventory on it. So if you met me at a trade show, you would have seen us with this scanner right here on our table. We have these for under $300 for refurbs, and we have them for $100 more new. So we've got some really great pricing on these scanners. We got a batch of them that we purchased at a discount. So it's an opportunity for you to pick up a really, really good scanner. It sits in a charging dock like this, and so when you take it out, it's always charged and ready to go. It is a Bluetooth device, but you can also unpair it from the Bluetooth base, and you can walk around the store and take a physical inventory with it. It collects the part counts to the physical gun, and then we have a feature in the system where we can actually import that scan. So everything that you collected in a file onto that scanner dumps into the system and dumps into our physical inventory count sheets. Now, typically the count sheets, if you were taking an inventory, back in the day, the traditional way of doing it would be, okay, I want to create some count sheets. You'd choose the sequencing of the count sheets, whether you wanted in bin sequence, part number sequence, whatever, and you'd create your count sheets. And so here's an idea of what they would have looked like. And you could go in and then physically post the count for each item. You would print count sheets possibly for your staff to go around, take the count, whatever, and bring those back to you. Still a really nice way of doing it. And then, of course, we've got this grid where you enter in, okay, I've got 8, I've got 2, and so forth, and you go through. And once you apply the counts, it updates the system with the physical inventory counts. So we've got this nice kind of grid where you can also maintain it. But if I was using a scanner, the counts would already be populated. I wouldn't have to go through each item and populate the count. So that speeds up the process of taking a physical inventory. And then, of course, when the inventory is all said and done, we give you something called a plus and minus adjustments report. And this is a report that shows you how accurate your inventory was. So let's say on this top line item, it was a $122 item. Before we took inventory, there were 7. We thought there were 7 anyway. We counted, there were only 6. And so this is a -1 adjustment. It's a $122 loss. The line item drops from $859 down to $737. So it's giving you a very accurate breakdown of how accurate or inaccurate your inventory was. When you take a physical inventory, you'll have your valuation. Once your parts, of course, are entered into the system, entered into Commander, a lot of you folks, of course, are using QuickBooks. We are no longer going to maintain a itemized inventory list in QuickBooks. We retire that. We get rid of the items list in QuickBooks because that is QuickBooks' downfall. You can't load price books into it. You can't update the prices. Once they're in there, everything's manual. It's a nightmare. So we get rid of the items list. We put all the items into Commander. QuickBooks, of course, if you're using QuickBooks Pro or Premier, has a 14,500 item limit. So as soon as you get to 14.5, it crashes and they force you to buy Enterprise. Now you're in the same price range as you would be for Commander, and you still don't have all the features and functionality that we offer. So physical inventory, all the items, everything goes into Commander. We can run a report then in Commander of our valuation. Our inventory cost report is going to show us, for example, all the items. We could do this for a particular supplier if we just wanted to know what we had in stock for Mercury or Yamaha or whatever, we could do that. But if we want to see it all, give us a count for everything. It has an on-hand quantity greater than 0. And that would give us a list then, of course, of all the parts by supplier, a nice breakdown, and it'll give you a total. My first supplier is called All Island. I've got 109 pieces on the shelf. My value of that inventory is $17,000. So we're looking at inventory asset valuation. I've got a massive inventory in my system. This was 248 pages. My Yamaha inventory is 31,000. My total inventory value is 927,000. I'm running with a large data set with probably millions and millions of part numbers in the database. And I do that intentionally because most guys that demo their software will run it with a handful of items in it, and then the software runs nice and fast, and then you wonder why yours doesn't run the way theirs ran when they gave the demo, and they're going to tell you, oh, it's your internet connection or it's your computer or whatever. So Commander's running a SQL database. It is a Microsoft product. I should have mentioned, too, that if you have any Macs in the equation, if you're a Mac guy and you've got a Mac that you want to run Commander on, You can do that, but it requires buying a product called Parallels, which creates a parallel environment within the Mac so that you can run Windows software on it. We are a Windows-based product. Okay, so moving forward, we've looked at the items. We put an item into stock. We're going to take that item to our point of sale screen and sell it. Before we do that, I'll just mention that there is a place here in the form image settings where you can load a logo. So JPEG file goes in here with your street address. Mine actually doesn't have the physical address or the phone number. It has the phone number, but not the physical address. This is where your JPEG loads so that you can actually have that printing at the top of your invoices or your work orders. On the left-hand side, there is a cash register. I'm going to click on that. This is where we right mouse click, go new. You can set it up so that your employees have to enter a user ID so that they get credit for the sale. You know who sold the item, and then they can simply pick up their barcode scanner, scan the item. I've got this item available from both Donovan and Land & Sea, so it gives me both choices. I've got 2 in stock from Land & Sea, so I'll select that, go to the checkout window, and print my invoice. It's $175.43. If I didn't have both price files loaded, it wouldn't have stopped at that prompt. And of course, I can print my invoices with only a couple of touches, and it takes literally 5 to 7 seconds to print an invoice. It's really, really easy, simple, minimal touches. Actually, if you're selling multiple items, you don't have to touch the keyboard. You put your cursor down at the bottom and you just grab that barcode scanner just like a grocery store, and you just go blip, 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 sell them one after the other. They go right onto the invoice. So that sale right there assumed that I didn't want to collect the customer's name and I wanted to run it straight through without having it make change. So I'm going to go in and sell it again. We'll scan that item onto the ticket a second time. We had 2 in stock, so there's no problem. We only have 1 now, as you can see. So we'll go ahead and sell it, and this time we're going to search for a specific customer. So up at the top, we've got 2 buttons up here, search buttons and customer, new customer icons here. This is where you can search for existing customers. Now, if you're coming off another dealer management system and you have a customer list that you can send us, we will extract one from that system. We can get the customer list to reverse sync from QuickBooks if needed. We can import data from Excel spreadsheets. So anything that you have to send us, we can get your customer list into Commander so that you don't have to do the input of all your customers. We can do the same thing for your inventory, and we'll chat about that just a little bit later in this demo. I'm going to go ahead and assume that I was looking for customer Wilson. Type in some of the last name. There's a Paul and a Craig. I'm going to choose Paul, put him on the ticket, go to the checkout window, and now we have our payment options. Now, up at the top, this customer's got a credit balance of $41,000. Why that would be, I don't know. I've used these customers in demos, but it does show you the customer's balance from QuickBooks. So typically, that would not be a credit. It would be a red number at the top, and you would be able to see whether this customer owed you money. A lot of our marine customers carry a receivable balance, and that receivable balance that is maintained in QuickBooks is actually reverse synced back into Commander, so we can see when a customer has a credit or a debit balance. We can actually see that on the checkout window. It's a really, really nice feature because even though QuickBooks is collecting for the receivable, we can add to that receivable by simply selling to this customer on open account. So if I'm not collecting money and I want to push this transaction into their account, I do open account and invoice it, and of course that's going to add it to their balance, or of course burn through some of their credit if they had a credit. Cash payment. If this customer gave me $200 and I added a cash payment, it's going to make change. So down in the bottom right, you see the $24.57. So it's working as a cash register or point of sale system. We also have merchant services integration, and I'll chat to you folks about that in just a second. But if you want to integrate your merchant company or your merchant processing, we do this through Global. You can pay the ticket. It'll actually encrypt and store the credit card on their server and launch the merchant services integration piece that ties in with Commander. It's with an XCharge client. This does require setting up an account with Global. And then, of course, you're going to have the card process without having to type in the dollar amount or the customer's address. You're going to get the approval code kicking back, and your receipt is going to print. Now, for point of sale, we've printed a plain paper invoice, as you can see with the logo printing. But in our point of sale module, if you do a high volume of part sales across the counter, You're going to want to pick up a couple of printers here. One of them would be if you want to print your own barcode labels. And so you can kind of see the label that prints here. This gives you the ability to put a barcode on anything that might not have a barcode on it. So if you have, product that you want to label, you can do that. It gives you the ability to put a price onto a product if you want to do that. I'm not a huge fan of putting a price on product just because the prices are changing so rapidly. As soon as you price it, you have to reprice it. And then for the point of sale module, this is our small footprint star printer that we use. Any of the star or Epson printers will work. If you've already got a small footprint printer, just check in with me on the hardware that you have and we'll make sure it's compatible. But that'll print you the thermal receipt like you see on the right here. And that's your typical grocery store style receipt. The advantages of this printer, for those of you that don't know, this is a thermal printer, so it doesn't require toner cartridge. So you don't have to spend $65 with Hewlett Packard every other month or so, and keep their stock price going up just because you're buying toner cartridge from them. This ties in with a cash drawer. So we can pop the cash drawer open when we're collecting money at the point of sale. This cash drawer connects to the point of sale printer. So you have the option to then print, of course, on small footprint star printer or on plain paper invoices. Of course, when we get to the service department, we're not going to do the small footprint invoices. We're going to do a full-size work order on plain paper again, and it's going to create the form for us, and we're going to do one of those here momentarily. So that's the point of sale side of things. Just to mention, too, of course, it's an inventory system, so it's removed the item from stock. You'll see that items drop down to 0. We also have a sales history tab down here at the bottom. So if we care to see how many of that item we've sold within any certain period of time, especially, I'll show you this in a different spot in the program, when we're looking on our PO pad and we're looking to see what we're supposed to order for stock, and we see that the system is suggesting that we order a certain number of this item, whatever the item might be, we can click down here at the bottom and say, well, okay, here's the logic of why this part is ordering below this black bar. We're using min-maxes of 4 and 12. The item's down to 0, so it's trying to order me 12 based on my min-maxes. Well, before I order 12 of this item, maybe I should check the sales history. And that was a dealer requested feature to add this little piece down at the bottom. So when we go down to sales history, we want to view it for, let's say, this year to date, and we view it, we see that we've only sold 2 of this item all year. So that would give us a reason to say, well, do we really want to order 12, considering that we've only sold 2 all year? So it's a great way that you can make an intelligent decision on what you should be ordering, how your min-maxes should be set, and adjust them on the fly before you place your order. So just kind of bookmark that, because that's a really nice feature within the system. If we were to try and sell that part again, because we only had 2 and we're now out of stock, and we were to try and sell it, we're going to get a prompt that comes up and says, you don't have it, do you want to order it? It says, this item's not in stock. We sold out. Assuming that our inventory was correct, we would say, yes, we want to order it. The item would then go on this ticket. We'd print it out, collect a deposit, and it would go to the PO pad. I'm not going to demo that today. I will say this, though, if you happen to have the item in your hand and the system count was wrong, you're just not maintaining your inventory counts, and you've got it in your hand, you don't want to order it, you do have the option to say no and go ahead and sell it and not have to worry about that whole ordering process. And some of our competitors, one of the largest DMS companies, and I won't mention their name, but the largest DMS company, and probably Marine, actually requires that you go out and add the item to your inventory and fix your inventory count before they allow you to continue with the sale. Now, in some programmers' mind, that made sense somewhere, but in the real world, you've got a counter, stacked up with people trying to buy parts. You really can't make your customers wait while you fix your inventory before you continue selling things. Down in the bottom left, we're going to go to the service module. I do want to point out for navigation that Commander uses a series of icons on the side. We also start to open tabs along the top. So everywhere we go in the program, it's going to open tabs. And for ease of navigation, I can simply go back to physical inventory, back to invoicing, back to items. It's really, really easy to flip back and forth between the different modules. We're all familiar with tab navigation because our internet browsers use tab navigation, except there's a significant delay when you do things on cloud-based systems, whereas Commander, it's instantaneous on your screen. When we clicked on invoicing, we got a list of all the customers we had sold parts to. So similarly, when we click on repair orders, we're going to get a list of all the repair orders in our system, everybody that we have done work for. So in these grids that you're looking at here, I just want to mention these are all customizable. So yesterday we were doing a demo with somebody that wanted to use a tag number for equipment, and we added a column, but I can right mouse click here, customize my view, add and remove whatever fields I don't want on the screen, and I can customize what I want the screens to look like. So if you like your invoice date over on the left and not on the right or whatever, you can do pretty much whatever you want to in these grids and customize them the way you want them to look. That holds true through the entire program. You can customize all your grids by user. So when you log in as Bob, your screens will look the way you want them to look, or possibly have costing information on them where you don't want that on somebody else's screen. This is a place where we search for service history. So if we were looking for the history on a particular unit and we start typing in the serial number of that unit, we can type it in up here, CA, whatever. I've got a Grady White, I guess maybe we'll use that in the demo today. But as soon as we put in a few digits of the VIN, we're going to get the entire list by serial number. And it's going to show us all the work orders that we've done on that particular boat since it first came into our shop. This one goes back, I've been using this one as a demo unit since, November of 2012. And I can open up and I can see the invoice just like that. I can look at the work order. So it stores a physical service history going back for as long as you've had the system. It's not going to purge out after a year or 2 years or whatever. There's just plenty of room for service history there. If we want, we can even search through the content of the closed work order. So just as an example, and I won't go through a whole bunch here, but if I didn't know when this control handle had been put on a work order, customer came in and said, this thing has gone out again and you worked on it a month ago. And I know it's not a month ago. He's trying his luck. He wants to try and see if he can get it done on the warranty. I can search for that item. And just like that, it comes up and it shows me, well, that item was used on a repair order for Craig Wilson, invoiced out on repair order number 1037. And I tap on that and it takes me right into that document. And I tell him, I say, Craig, that was done in September of 2016. So, we're November 17. It had a 12-month warranty, boss. You're out of warranty. I apologize, but you're past the 12-month warranty period. So it's a great feature to be able to search through the content of closed work orders. It's a very, very powerful feature for finding things. Right mouse click new puts you right in a new work order. If a customer is bringing in their boat for service, you have two ways to start the work order. One is to start with the customer record. So we can, of course, search for our customer, or we have, obviously, the option to add a customer for the first time. Now, for those of you that are tying in with QuickBooks, obviously here, if we add the customer to Commander, it is also going to add that customer to QuickBooks. So there will be no duplicate entry of customer information. As soon as we run out push, that customer is going across.
Steve, say that again, please. Say that again, please.
Yes, sir. If we add a customer in Commander, name, address, phone number, email, whatever, that customer's information will also be added to QuickBooks.
Okay, as a new customer.
As a new customer, correct.
Okay.
Any of your existing customers that are in QuickBooks will already be here.
Their service history as well?
We reverse sync the customer list so that QuickBooks and Commander's customer lists are synced up and tied together.
Okay.
So in this particular case, if we were to use a customer here, let's say we have this customer and we select him. We can now go across to the right where it says, let's look for his boats. And this is a place in which you can see all of the boat, motor, trailer. Some of you do more than just marine stuff. So in this particular case, I've got a customer that has a Mercury outboard motor I've worked on. He's got a Nordic Heat boat here, a Bayliner, an Arctic Wildcat. He's ut a golf cart. He's got a Honda mower that I've worked on. So this is just kind of to demonstrate that if you have customers that have more than one unit, you're going to be able to choose very, very easily here from which one, the unit that you want to do work on. In this case, we'll pick the Nordic Heat and just add it. But we also have the option, of course, to add something for the first time. So if the customer is bringing in his boat for the first time, you've never ever worked on it, Doesn't have to be one you sold them. We can go ahead and add the, the serial number, the year, make, length, boat name, hull, width, whatever. All these fields can be repurposed. So when mine says engine 1, 2, 3, 4, you can change the title, of course, on any of these fields and put data in here that you need. So there's no problem there. You can repurpose those fields and collect the information that you want to collect. The other thing we have the option for here is when we have the boat information on the screen and we've entered it, we can also add pictures if we choose to. So in our service department, there might be a need to document something with images. So we can add one or multiple images. This also works well for the sales department when we put boats in that we have available for sale. And we can go ahead and put in as many images as we choose to here. And so if you have something that you want to document because maybe the boat looks like it's, something's damaged or there's an issue and you want to just take care of making sure that you don't get blamed for it. We live in a litigious world. We can do that. So we can document it with pictures. On the top left, there is a service request tab. In the service request tab, we simply type in whatever the customer came in for. So maybe they came in for an oil change. Maybe they need a new impeller, and it will not start. So whatever those things are, those are notes that the technician is going to read. If you're in an environment where you collect a signature, you may now print the work order. You could give a preliminary estimate if you wanted to. That is an option. And we have a number of different form templates for the work order. So the work order can actually be printed in a lot of different styles and designs. A lot of different invoice design styles that we have here. But this printing of the work order would be specifically at this stage just to collect the signature on the disclaimer. Down here at the bottom, customer would sign. We can see the work here that we've requested, and that's where we are collecting a signature. Now, we don't do a digital signature. There is a way to save the work order as a PDF and do a digital signature, but those haven't been holding up in court very well unless you're using something like DocuSign or some sort of an official digital signature program. If you're just trying to collect it on one of those signature pads like UPS uses or whatever, those don't hold a whole lot of weight. At this point, we've logged the job into the system. We've got the thing started. It's at the top of our grid, and I want to give you guys some information here about how we handle work orders in Commander in terms of their statuses. We give them a status over here on the right-hand side. I'm going to draw your attention to it here. We've got three different statuses. One of them is it starts out initially as a quote or an estimate. So we can put parts and labor on it all day long without affecting our inventory levels. It's not going to take them out of stock. It's not going to affect any ordering or anything else. We can create estimates and email those to the customer right from inside the system. If you get the warranty approval or the customer's approval, we flip it and it goes to its next status, which is called posted. Posted is what some people call WIP or work in process. Those are the ones that we know we're currently working on in the shop. And when they're completed and they're finished, they'll get an invoice date and we'll close the tickets out. So they're really just in one of three different statuses. They're either quotes, posted, or invoiced, 1, 2, or 3. So when we started that new work order, by default, the one we just started out in quote status. And so everything we do at this point allows us to open the document and start adding parts and labor to the ticket without doing anything. You'll see the word quote right there in the middle of the screen. Some folks prefer the word estimate when they print it, so we give you the option to also print it and have it use the word estimate if you don't like the word quote. Now we're going to start adding parts and labor to the ticket. Now, we've got a lot of different ways of putting parts on a ticket. Obviously, I can type in the number if I know the part number. I can scan it in. I showed you barcode scanning a minute ago with the point of sale screen. Works the same in the work order screen. We can scan parts onto the ticket. But one of the interesting features for folks that are using an EPC, close this invoice that we printed, go back to my desktop here. I'm going to launch into Easy Parts 5, which is Mercury's. I know we've got a lot of Mercury dealers in the room. So Easy Parts 5, of course, is the EPC that took the place of Midas when they stopped providing updates, I think, in September of last year for Midas. But we've had integration with, a number of different EPCs. Now, just to kind of throw a few out there so that we cover most of them. Some of the factory EPCs, Yamaha has one on YDS, Mercury has theirs in MERCnet, and they also have a desktop copy of Easy Parts 5 that seems to run a little bit better than the web-based one. So if you're using the web-based one, I've got the desktop one running. PartSmart, parts great for Evinrude dealers. Boss Web, Suzuki Connect, Volvo Penta has an EPC. Parts Manager Pro, often used for Yamaha dealers. And so there's a lot of these different EPCs. EPCs are basically electronic parts cataloging systems. It's a glorified new acronym for what we used to refer to as microfiche. But this is kind of where you go to look up the part numbers. And we integrate with these EPCs in a really nice way that allows the systems to work together so that they almost look like they're one product. So when we're in our work order and we're looking for a particular motor, and let's say I go to this Verado 75, and we get to some image data. Let's go fuel supply module. Of course, you got to expand the image size here because of the way they designed it. So click a few times and we'll zoom in on this image so we get a decent image on the screen. There we go. We're tied together with the EPC. So here are some of the options that you have. If I'm looking to see if I have the part in stock, let's say this regulator right here, and I want to know if I have it. I right click and I ask to view it. And Commander is going to send back a response into Easy Parts 5 that says, yes, as a matter of fact, you have 5 of those and you have them on row 1, whatever that would be. So it's giving you your bin location and your stock and pushing that right back into, and even that price set displays, that 102.50 is not necessarily Mercury's price. If you're bumping your price or doing something with your pricing, it's getting that price point from Commander. If the item had been superseded and you view it or was no longer available, in this case the red ones are the NLAs, you'll see that NLA in front of our part number description. But we happen to have 3, and the bin location we can also with Mercury use the class code. So that 84- is actually the class code, and that can show up as your description. When we use a superseded item, these blue ones are all the supersessions. It's going to come up and show you the stock and say, well, you don't have it under the old number. Do you want to check the next one? And you can say, okay, let's bounce to the next one. Don't have it under that one either. Let's bounce to the next one. Don't have it under that one. Let's bounce to the next one. And so there we can go, and we might have it in stock under that number. So it does kind of a walk through the supersession chain, showing you whether you have that item available in stock in Commander. Now, that's a feature that we've added to our system. Actually, fairly recently, we're doing a forward and a backward supersession search. So anytime I'm looking for an item and I'm in Commander and I'm trying to put that item on my work order, for example, I'm going to get the entire supersession chain displayed like this. So I'm not going to make the mistake of being that guy that goes ahead and orders it because I don't think I have it when I actually carry it under an older number. Anytime you add a superseded item to a Commander work order, you're going to see a red button light up down here at the bottom that says superseded item. And you're going to see a part number next to a part number if you happen to have made a mistake and added the wrong number. But that's kind of how that works. But going back into the EPC, in here you can also add the items to a pick list. So if I wanted this regulator and I right click and I say go ahead and add that to a pick list, we can then of course add one to a little shopping cart that exists inside their system. So here's a shopping cart that I have created with a handful of items on it, and instead of cutting and pasting or typing or whatever, to get these items onto the Commander work order, there's an export button down here. And what that does is take this pick list that we just created inside of Easy Parts 5 and it renders it and makes it available to my Commander work order. Now I'm not going to click right away because the button disappears after I click. So I'll point your attention to the top dead center of the screen. There's an import button. That button only appears after there's information available to this work order. So as soon as we hit that import button, those part numbers drop right into our work order. Yay, I got one guy who liked it. Usually we get a good response on this moment. This is a good moment, right?
Yeah.
So here we are, and we actually have a superseded item. Look at that at the top, that very top one. The red button came up, and I see my description sitting in the middle here. So let's double check what's going on with that guy. The fuel supply module. And of course, in this case, we could go ahead and pick the current number, and that would take care of, I've got a negative one here, I've sold it down actually, but that at least gets us to the correct part number. So that's how we interact with all the EPCs. So if you're Volvo, if you're Evinrude, if you're Suzuki Connect, if you're BossWeb, if you're Parts Manager Pro, if you're PartSmart, they all work the same way. So lots of cool stuff there. These parts, when they come into the work order, it's not just a blind, dumb copy. It knows and fills them from your stock if you have them. So this grommet that I've highlighted in the middle of the screen, line 6, you're going to see on the left-hand side, it's actually showing me that I have that item. There's a 1. I can fill it from stock. I have it. So the other items, though, that fill with a 0, these would all have to be ordered. I do not have any of these in stock, and I am still in quote mode. I'm still building an estimate. Now, we can put labor onto the system, and we've got some cool stuff to talk to you guys about with labor that is brand new. The traditional way of doing labor in Commander is you create some labor codes in the system. We have a labor section. We keep track of it separately. And of course, you could have labor for haul out or your regular labor here. I've got my shop rate set at $90 an hour. I bet I'm lower than almost everybody here. But rigging, haul out, replace a battery, winterization codes, whatever, you can sublet labor. You can create your own menu of labor codes, and that's fine. You can go in, grab them, put them on a ticket, and use them on your work orders. Another feature that I really like is I can hold my shift key down and my arrow key, and I can reposition the lines. So I'm moving my labor line up, and they will print in the order in which they display on the screen. So I just put the labor in position 1 on the screen. And commonly asked question is, how much detail, or can I type in my own description? You can type as much description as you want. You click into the description box, start typing, and that description box will, in fact, open up and give you plenty of room to put in as much detail or description as you want. And that's pretty common in the marine industry because we're going to hit this guy with a big bill, and we want him to know that we did a lot of work on his boat. So that's going to be one option for you there. We can populate the labor hours with as many hours as we think that job is going to take, still in estimate mode. Another feature that we've introduced for our marine customers is the ability, when we're adding and we find multiple things wrong with this boat, we can go ahead and we can position our line items wherever we want, and we can assign them the parts and the labor. You can highlight like this and right click and say, well, that's actually part of one job. That's part of, let's say, task 1. And that way we're going to give them a separate total. We're not just going to hit them with one bill. We're going to say, well, that one there was part of job 1, and this one here is part of job 2. And our marine customers, I've seen guys that have as many as 25, 26 tasks going on the same boat. And they break them down by labor and the parts and labor associated with each one. And I'll show you when we print the ticket at the end what that actually looks like. It creates a really good looking work order that breaks it down into sections within the body of the work order. So we've tasked it, and at this stage we might not have the customer's approval, so we can go ahead and email him an estimate. There's an email button up there at the top. All we have to do is click that button. It'll PDF this document and send him his estimate in background, so he gets a copy of his estimate. Now, that document now then just resides in our grid. We can see that would be a $2,700 job, and we haven't received any money, and it's still in quote mode. As soon as we get the go-ahead for the job, we pop it open. We can see that we've got some parts to order here to get this going, so we're going to go ahead and post it, top left corner, and you will see on the right-hand column now a whole bunch of SO, 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 special order, special order, special order. Those are the parts that have to be ordered. I can't start the job yet, but I can go to my PO pad and take a look, and those parts will be there for me. Purchase order pad. There they are. All these guys right here, I'll highlight them for you, all have to be ordered for that job. So if I want to go now and create a purchase order for Mercury, I simply create a purchase order. There will be no typing. We don't like typing. So we're going to look at our purchase order, our PO pad, highlight the Mercury parts, drop them onto an order. There you go. That was pretty quick. And I'll choose Mercury as my supplier. That's who I'm going to order them from, so I now can create my purchase order. It's letting me know that I qualify for free shipping up here. It counted it down. Mercury, I think, has a $200 minimum. Other suppliers have different minimums, so it will keep track of whether or not you're $5 or $10 or $15 shy of free shipping, and then you can add another filter or another pack of spark plugs or whatever and qualify for free freight. So now we have our purchase order created. And in order to get these purchase orders submitted to your suppliers, we've created an electronic export feature at the top. This is a place where you can simply click and say, well, I want to send this out, and I'm going to send this in a MERCnet format. So we're going to do MERCnet, and we'll do our export. That function right there makes that purchase order available to Mercury's shopping cart. Now, when you log into MERCnet, or it's Land & Sea or Yamaha or Honda, it doesn't matter who you're a dealer for. I'm using Mercury as an example, but it could be a Yamaha order that we want to export out. It could be, Honda if you're a Honda dealer. So it doesn't really make any difference. We've got export routines for all these different OEMs, whether it's BRP or your Evinrude stuff, whether it's Land & Sea for your Kellogg stuff, Donovan, we do an export for. So same kind of idea. We push the purchase order out, and then you log into MERCnet, and this purchase order will pop right into their shopping cart without typing in a single part number. If you care to see that demonstrated, I don't have a MERCnet login today, but there is a video posted on YouTube under Mercury Marine Dealer Software. If you do a search, there's a short video that demonstrates that feature on YouTube. So you're welcome to look it up. Mercury Marine Dealer Software. Yes, sir.
Hey, if let's just say you've got 3 or 4 different customers where you've got the Richard Hosh here.
Yes, sir.
There's 3 or 4 different customers on your purchase order. The shipping, packing labels, and all come in with that as a tag.
Yeah, when the purchase order, the question was if we had more than one customer. This was just for one customer. If there was more than one customer, then obviously you would have different customer names displayed in here. These could be, all for different customers. When we receive the purchase order, we have the option to print some barcode labels here. And the barcode labels would have the customer's name on it if you elected to. I don't know whether Mercury utilizes our data to send you labels already on their product. I don't believe they do. That would be something on their side. But on our side, as the product is received, we can use that same printer that we use to print regular barcode labels to print a parts label that has the customer's name and the document number that it was being received for. So if that was a special order part, not necessarily going onto a job, we could go ahead, receive those items in, and put them on our special order bins. Now, the receive process is really easy. We just hit the receive button at the top. And as soon as we hit that receive button, it gives us the option to enter a bill, which we'll come back and do. That's a QuickBooks integration feature. But those parts all just went into inventory. I'm done. I mean, that's that quick. Now, if I don't know where the parts have got to go, and that same scenario exists where I had parts that came in for a lot of different customers, there's a special order call list button up in the top left. I'm just going to click on that. And what that'll do is it'll break it down for me by customer and by job. So when I look at all of my parts that I've received, I can actually tell here whose parts came in. If I want to look at just today, we do have a little bit of background noise going, guys. I'll try and figure out where it's coming from in a second here. Give me just a moment and I'll try and filter that out for us. There we are. It seems to have taken care of itself. Nope. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so here we're looking at the special order call list for today. These are the parts that were actually received that came in today. So it makes it really easy. Once you receive a purchase order, you've got this distribution list that you can print, and this is going to show you where the parts have got to go. So in this case, because I just had one come in today, it would look like this. But obviously, if I had parts that came in for, for a certain time period or multiple customers, it would break it down by customer and by job. To send a notification to a customer that their parts have arrived, which we wouldn't do for our service department, but we might do for our parts customers, we have, like I mentioned, an email button at the top, and you can simply tap that button and send them an email. We do not automatically send out email notifications to people when parts arrive. We found there's too many variables. If the guy ordered 3 parts and 2 came in, 1 was back ordered, and you know, he drives 50 miles to come and get it. And then you tell him, well, only the 2 are here, but not the other one. There's a lot of different reasons why we don't do it, and we've considered it. Same thing for the service department. If you give someone notification, I know there's some automotive systems that'll say, well, your parts have been ordered, your parts are on the way, your parts have arrived, whatever. You know, if I know the parts have arrived and you got them this morning, I might have an expectation that I could pick up my boat this afternoon. And, you know, you might not be able to accommodate that. So we've got a little button that you just click. If you want to send the email out, you can send it out right from in the invoicing module or repair order module. In this case, the parts have arrived for this particular job that we were doing together. So we can go ahead and give those to a technician, and now we can assign techs to the labor operation codes. So we had 2 of them, one in position 1, one in position 6. And down here at the bottom is where we assign our techs. So we can assign 1 or multiple techs, actually. So Peter's going to do this job here, and he'll get credit for those 2 hours. And line 6, we're going to assign a different technician to. We'll assign Dave, and he'll get credit for that hour. I want to pause and just tell you guys real quickly. Recently, we have created importable labor codes. We have the entire labor flat rate guide for Evinrude, Yamaha, Mercury, Suzuki, a whole bunch of them. There's even a Spader one that you can import. So if you're somebody that wants to import 40,000 labor codes, and you can go into your labor menu and kind of drill down and navigate through a whole series of categories and collect the labor code. That's a different labor menu. You can do that. They're all sorted by the size of the displacement of the engine, and then the category, whether it's electrical or whatever. So if you have an interest in adding labor guides to Commander, we might be the first marine system, since maybe Spader had it in their old DOS system, but I haven't seen any of the DMS competitors that we're competing with offer labor guide data integration, which is really, really nice. So they're available for a nominal cost. All right, so here we are. We've assigned 2 different technicians. Are there any questions? Because I heard there might have been one question.
Can we create our own can jobs?
Yes, so everybody heard that question. Can we create canned jobs? So the answer to that is yes. We call them kits in the system. And all you do there, of course, is you list together. We can add that to the favorites. So now I've got a little icon down at the bottom left. You'll see something that says kits there. If I go to a repair order and I want to do a winterization job and I have a canned job, instead of adding all those items and labor individually, I can simply click on my basic winterization job, and just like that, I've got a winterization ticket started. Nice and quick. Or I could do a bottom. I've got one here, in fact, for a bottom paint job. Same thing, where it has all of the, I'm deleting this quote. It requires an authorization code to do that. You know, it could be something as extensive as all the parts and materials required to do a bottom paint job. So here's a 42-foot bottom paint job, and all the parts and materials for that job go onto the work order. Let's move the labor into position 1, and there we go. Now we've got this extensive, detailed work order of all the different paint and thinner and all the different materials that go into that bottom paint job, if that's something you wanted to do. The other thing,
Steve, earlier
yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
earlier,
sir.
you had shown where things were tracked by, say, the serial number of the engine, the VIN number of the boat. If you've got a job where you're doing work on boat, motor, trailer, all these items at one time, and you can go back, I guess, how do you differentiate that within your searches?
So there's 2 methods or 2 schools of thought. If you want to do it all on the same work order, typically what you would do is you would have the boat record added at the top. When you view the information on the actual boat record itself, your engine numbers would be available here. And then you could, alternately, if you want to know within the body of the work order, what did I do on the port motor? What did I do on the starboard motor? Some folks use this tasking feature, and we would put in to the actual labor description or a title bar on the task bar, we can say, well, okay, this is work that we're doing on this engine. So I could take this engine number, for example, and in my task description here, I would simply land that engine. That's my port motor. So what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to see within the body of the ticket work that was done, let's say on one motor versus the other motor versus the trailer, and I could use the tasking feature to break it down and also be able to search it when I needed to search it, because my search capability within the work order searches, as I showed you when we're looking for that part number, we can search through the contents of a closed work order. So there is a way to drill down on a particular engine number if you wanted to see what work was done just on that engine. But of course, that's tricky. You know, anytime you do a work order, you don't necessarily want to have to create separate work orders, one for the boat, you know, one for each motor and one for the trailer, and then the customer wants to come in and pay with one credit card. Now you've got to apply it to 4 different documents. So, you know, we do have folks that will utilize the tasking feature to break it down: port motor, starboard motor, kicker motor, trailer, whatever, and just group it within the work order. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'll go ahead and put in Yamaha and just say port motor as an example. And I'll just put it in the body of the ticket like that, so I can see it and then task it. So just to come back real quickly here to the technicians, guys, just to mention a couple features. When you assign your technicians to the work orders, they get credit for the billable hours. There's a time clock feature if you want to clock them in and clock them out. They can either do this themselves outside of the work order. There's a spot for them to do that, or they can do it inside the work order if you're permitting them to be in the work order. And that's going to accumulate what we call actual time or actual hours down here at the bottom. And we've created a relationship between the actual time and the billable time. And we compute a technician efficiency rating. We'll let you know how efficient the tech was, or whether or not you're making money or upside down on that work order based on actual time versus billable time. There's also a technician. Yes, sir.
No, I was just saying,
Yeah, I appreciate that. There's a scheduling button too down here. We've integrated Commander with a calendar. So if you have a haul and launch that's due or whatever, you can actually schedule it. And that would be your labor code, haul and launch, and you can schedule it for that technician at a certain date and time. So you hit the schedule button here, or just regular workflow. I need Peter for 2 hours. Let's go ahead and schedule that. And down here, I need Dave for 1 hour. Let's go ahead and schedule that. So you pick the date and time, and that actually puts it on a calendar for you. And you'll see my calendar view here where you have a green and yellow block. Each technician gets a different color. So you can actually track the technician's workflow, what you have them working on, approximately for what time increments. So if I only had 2 technicians and there was another boat coming in today, I know I wouldn't be able to look at it till at least 10:30. So that's kind of the idea behind that. The techs can actually come in and drill down on the work orders that they're working on right from here, and we can see here that we have somebody working on the port motor here. That's Peter, and he can double click on that and it'll put him right in that work order. So it navigates in and out of the calendar straight into the work order module. We developed this for Kawasaki Motor Corporation. I know they're not in the marine. Well, they do have some personal watercraft, but they're actually a customer of ours. Kawasaki uses Commander in their corporate location. They've got about 25 workstations. BRP is a customer of ours, Polaris. We've got a lot of OEM relationships where our software, even though it's designed for dealership environments, it was robust enough to be implemented in some corporate environments too. So that calendar is part of the system. If you choose to use it, great. If you choose not to, that's also fine, obviously. When the work order is all said and done and the job is done, we go to our checkout window here. In the checkout window, we can see this customer owes us $2,700, and they also owe us, here's a more likely scenario, they owe us $525 from previous work that we've done. So we might choose to address that. In this particular case, let's just say they were paying with a credit card, and we go ahead and pay this. And then we go ahead and we run the payment through, like I showed you before in the point of sale module, where you can run it through and process it. And I'll give you this information here if you have an interest in it. The merchant services, of course, everybody has their own existing merchant provider, and maybe as your brother-in-law and you're going to have Thanksgiving dinner with them. But if you do choose to get a rate quote from us, it doesn't cost anything, and you know, they'll compare and see if they can't beat your rates. And then, of course, you pick up integration, which is nice because the credit card can also be stored, encrypted. It's not on your computer, so you're PCI compliant. on global server, and then you can apply that credit card to future payments. So if you have customers that do, that you're billing reoccurringly, like your rental customers, your slip customers, your storage customers, it's nice to have access to that card and be able to apply it to their storage invoice without having to manually enter or input or whatever. This is the work order we just created, guys. This is what it looks like. So again, we have a lot of different templates. Your work orders don't have to look like this. We've got a lot of different form styles for you to choose from. This just happens to be the one that I like. So we have your logo printing here at the top. There's a barcode in the top right that can actually be used to drill down on the job that the technician is clocking into if they're doing their time clock, clocking in. The body of the ticket, as you can see, is now broken down into two sections because we tasked it. And you can kind of see here, going back to that question, port motor, right? So that could have been work done on the port motor, and this could have been your starboard, just so you can kind of see how that would have worked. And again, now we are able to give our customer a total for parts and labor on each different job that we did. And same thing when we're giving estimates. If you're going to give estimates and they look like this and they're all broken up into different sections, you could give somebody a nice estimate and show them all the different things that they should consider having done on their boat. Some of them might be critical, need to be done right away. Some of them they might come back for. Down here at the bottom of the invoice, I'm going to zoom in on it just a little bit so you can see it just a little bit better. System also collected $8 in shop fees for me. Commander's designed to automatically add shop fees to the invoice. I do mine as a percentage on labor. I think I have it set at 3%. General idea there, of course, is if the bigger the job, the more I'm going to use, and so I can have it on a sliding scale kind of increment for me as the job gets bigger. Some folks charge an inspection fee, so that's an option too if you just want. So there's certain charges that you can have added to the work order automatically so you don't forget to add those. Now, that work order that we just created, I'm going to pause for a second and show you that we have this work order that we created for Richard Hash, Bongo's Fishing Fleet. I'm going to pop open my QuickBooks here, and I'm going to open my QuickBooks integration piece to show you how these transactions batch into QuickBooks at the end of the day. You simply open up the mapping, hit the transfer button, and it takes all the business that just took place in Commander and updates QuickBooks electronically. So I know there's some folks in this meeting that are doing this manually, and so this is going to be one of those moments where you say, oh my gosh, you mean I don't have to go in and manually update QuickBooks with all my tickets and so forth. So if I go to my customer center real quickly here and we look for that customer, in QuickBooks, pause here and just search my last name. That repair order just showed up in QuickBooks. It's right here at the top. And the way we do our numbering system is we push it across as RO 1208. Now it's document 1208 in Commander also, but we put an RO in front of it, letting the system know that that was a repair order. You'll also see that there's a payment that came across, and so we can actually use QuickBooks then to make our bank deposits, our cash and check. This would have been a credit card payment, so it would have gone automatically to our merchant account. But if we click into the work order, you're actually going to see the way we do this integration piece is we have line item detail transferring to QuickBooks. So you can see the part number, the description for every single item that was on that ticket. So this is a nice way of pushing it across instead of just pushing across journal entries and doing GL entries and making journal entries for batch totals. We do line item detail. We transfer the invoices across. You can see the payment has already been applied to the ticket, so there's a zero balance due. But all the detail, there's the Yamaha port motor, whatever, detail. So this is all coming across into QuickBooks. Going back to what I mentioned earlier in the demo about QuickBooks having a 14,500 item limit, we are putting the item number and the description of the item in the description field of QuickBooks. So that circumvents ever running out of space in QuickBooks Pro. QuickBooks Pro is only $200. And so if you're using Premier or Enterprise, this is an opportunity for you to downsize or downscale your QuickBooks and come back onto QuickBooks Pro. And of course, we're not going to max out the item limit. We're also not adding individual items to QuickBooks. By putting them in the description field, we won't have that updating pricing issue inventory valuation debacle that you would have otherwise in QuickBooks. So that's one portion of the integration. The other portion of the integration, which is really worth seeing, is that once we've received a purchase order, like we did from Mercury here, we can right mouse click and enter a bill. Now, if you've got a bill to pay, and we're going to go ahead and enter a bill number here of 98765, and we'll go ahead and we'll have an invoice date, a due date, and the items that were received are displayed here. So this is actually the purchase order that we received. And so what we're doing here is we're making sure that we were correctly billed. So they billed me for, I received one, they only billed me for one. I've got the purchase order in my left hand, I've got the bill in my right hand. And that's an important little piece of training information for you. You've got to reconcile, don't pay purchase orders, you've got to pay bills, not purchase orders, because things get cross-shipped, back-ordered, whatever. Maybe we paid some shipping here, $75 to get the items here a little quicker. So we're looking to pay a bill of $1691.20. We can add that bill and save it so that the next time we run our QuickBooks transfer, that actually picks that bill up and sends it across to QuickBooks, so we can go directly here to not enter bills, but to pay bills. And when we scroll down at the bottom here to pay this bill, you're going to see that bill is already teed up for you. We can go right to it. And there the bill is sitting for you, waiting for you in QuickBooks. Keep in mind that if you had a customer that didn't pay you and you invoiced them or did a work order, that is also going to show up in your accounts receivable. So what does QuickBooks do? QuickBooks does accounts receivable, payable, payroll, banking, P&L, and balance sheet. Commander does everything else. All the inventory control for boat, motor, trailer, and parts, all handled in Commander. Purchase orders, EPC integration, purchase order uploads, and the two pieces work very, very nicely together. All right, so just coming back. Yes, sir. Go ahead, Rick.
Do they run automatically, or do you got to manually run them monthly?
No, you have to. The question was, does this run automatically? The answer is no. It's a batch push. There might be times when you're not around. You know, you go away for a few days. It has a starting and an ending date. So you can choose the date range that you're looking to transfer. You can run it twice on the same day. It doesn't matter. It won't duplicate post. But it does require that the QuickBooks company file be open. A lot of people have more than one business that they're running through QuickBooks, and so we don't want to automatically push. We want to make sure that the company file is open and that we're mapped to the correct company file. It's very, very simple, but it does require opening it up and just hitting hitting a transfer button, like I just showed you there. So very, very quick to run. You typically have it running on one computer, and that takes care of getting your money across into QuickBooks and just updating customer balances. If the customer owes any money, of course, that reverse syncs back into Commander. If there were any new customers that we added to Commander, those are updated. If we change the customer's phone number in Commander, it updates QuickBooks. It does all of that for you.
Sorry, I was actually asking if the price book updates run automatically, or if you got to manually run those.
The price book updates, no, the price book updates, we will send you an email notification for whatever file is just updated. And you have the price file loader on your desktop that you simply click on, and that grabs your current pricing for you. There's a lot of little weird things in play when it comes to pricing. I'll give you another example. For those of you that are Land and Sea dealers, Land and Sea creates a custom price file for everybody. It's different. It's dealer specific. So what you're going to find with the Land and Sea pricing is that you can download a Land and Sea price file from your dealer website. If you go up into the top left-hand corner of your Land and Sea dealer portal, there's something there that says Dealer Tools, and you can click into that and request a price file that will be compatible with Commander. And so that's how that's done, but it's dealer specific. And so they'll only email that file to you. And then as soon as that file arrives in your inbox in your email, we've written code through our price file loader that says, okay, we want to load a Land and Sea file. Now, this is not a standard file coming from Steve with MIC. This one is actually a Land and Sea file, and there's a mapping that we have for Land and Sea. So just, you don't have any work to do as far as reformatting the files or messing with them. We just know what format they're laid out in, and we grab those files and push the data up into Commander. But yeah, it does require you executing the load feature, and you'll do that in all likelihood once a month. Each file runs for a couple minutes, and it loads and it updates literally hundreds of thousands of part numbers in a short period of time. So it's certainly well worth it. And because we're not charging individually for the price updates, there's really no hesitation where dealers have to say, well, I don't feel like spending $150 on getting a new Mercury file. No, it's not costing you anything. So you just download it and away you go. The boat motor trailer inventory, guys, just to kind of wrap the demo up here, the boat motor trailer inventory is stored in a separate section on the left-hand side here. There's a red and blue key for those of you that are interested in seeing that. We do have a section of the program here where you can put all of your boat motor trailer inventory. Typically, when it first goes in as a stocked unit. So there's a flag that is set on the unit itself showing that it's stocked. You go ahead and enter all the information on the unit itself, and then the back screen is a place where you can put all your costing, your flooring information, your warranty information, and you can enter the unit into the system. You can package those units together by giving them a stock number, and if that's something you've done or you've done some rigging, we can go ahead and create packages that way that sell together. Now, to sell the boat motor trailer, before we go there, let me just point out on the back screen here, we have a feature to keep track of internal work orders, and this is when you take in a trade-in or you've got a boat that you've got to put additional work into. Commander creates an internal work order, and the internal work order will write a value to this field. So when you have a base cost of $45,000, that's what this boat cost. The internal work order was $560. We're keeping track of the fact that we put additional parts and labor into that unit, so we don't lose track of the fact that there's additional value added to the back end. We took some product off the shelves in the parts department. We keep track of that on a tab down here at the bottom, which we call internal RO. This is letting you know what work went into the back end. If you want to see the detail on those work orders, you can see there was a winterization job done and maybe some other parts and materials that might have gone into that actual unit. The only prerequisite is that the work order gets marked as internal as you're creating it. And then, of course, when you go to close it out, it gives you the option only of internal as a payment method. It's not going to let you pay cash or check or credit card. It just says, hey, that's an internal, so close it. And it sends that dollar amount to the back end of that unit automatically. So you don't have to worry about that. It'll keep track of internals for you very, very nicely. When we go to sell the boat motor trailer inventory, we go to sell boat motor trailer. For those of you that do that, and I want to pause for a second because I know that this is important to some folks possibly in the demo, but not to everybody. So is there anybody that doesn't need to see this section that we can answer questions for before we move on? Anybody not heavily involved in selling boat motor trailer? Everybody's selling? Who's not?
We're not sales. This is Steve's Marine.
Okay. So I won't spend a lot of time on this, Steve. I think what I'll do is I'll redirect real quickly to some reports and just show you some of those in Commander, and then we'll show the sale of a boat motor right at the end. In the accounting system in Commander, we go through General Ledger. So there is a chart of accounts within our system that you can set up to keep track of all your different profit centers, your different income categories that you have. And of course, you can run a report anytime you want for any time period you want, and you can view your profit summary. So the account profitability summary here shows us how much money we're making in every category that we have set up. So if we were a multi-line dealer and we sold parts, for both Mercury and Evinrude and Yamaha, whatever, we could break down our part sales into different categories. Similarly, our boat sales, our labor, all of our profit centers will actually break down and show us how much money we're making in every single category. We did inventory valuation. We have a report here for technician recap. This is where we compare billable and actual hours for the tech to see how many billable hours they've worked within a given time period, and we can view that and we can see those numbers and the profit numbers. We can drill down on an individual technician and just see his profit numbers if we're paying commissions, or we want to see how many billable hours that technician has given us. Sales tax report is in Commander. report for balancing your cash drawer at the end of the day if you want to go and see how much money you've made that day. I ran this for a bigger time period just to put some numbers on here, but to show you, we'll give your payment reconciliation report that shows you your cash, check, credit card, what you took in credit card business and so forth. We handle multiple cash drawers. If you have more than one drawer collecting money, we can cash out on multiple stations, up to 10 different cash drawers. So you could have more than one cashier if that was your environment. So those are some of the most popular reports. From an inventory standpoint, of course, obsolescence. This is a nice report if you wanted to see what isn't selling. It's nice to see what is selling, but if you want to see what's not moving, you can pick the time period, starting and ending dates, what hasn't sold so far this year, and maybe I have more than a certain quantity on the shelf. So if that were the case, this is going to show me something that I've got more than 2 and they haven't sold all year. So I might want to think about narrowing down my inventory as I go. Now I can also do it by supplier. Maybe the land and sea rep comes in and is trying to push product. So there's just different ways of doing it. Inventory sales history. This will show you sales history for 3 prior years in different month buckets. Best selling items, maybe I want to see what my top sellers are. When we go to the trade shows, our dealers are walking around with their top selling items for, let's say, land and sea, and they're at the show, and they can tell how many they sold of a particular product within a certain time period. So those are all real popular reports in Commander. So even though we're relying on QuickBooks for the final P&L and balance sheet, we have a ton of great reports in our system that you can run very, very easily. You don't have to be a computer programmer to generate reports. For those of you that lean that way and like the kind of customizing of reports, we have a custom report generator, and you can go in here and pick the fields that you want to add to the report and create and design your own reports. Some of the reasons we do those types of reports are to create, let's say, an NLA report. Let's say that you had inventory for Mercury, and we know that the Mercury description starts with NLA when it's no longer available, and you might have stock. We can run an entire listing, and then, of course, that listing uploads into MERCnet. So it's a really nice way of electronically creating a list of all the items that you have in stock, or maybe just the NLA items, or maybe you want to upload your entire inventory. That's up to you. But in MERCnet, they have that feature, and in a number of, Evinrude has one, they all have, a lot of them have functionality for you to upload your inventory into the dealer portal so other dealers can see that you have that part. And we have an electronic way of doing that. A lot of people are doing that manually. So we can create a file that electronically pushes up into their system for showing inventory. Any questions before we just kind of do the boat motor trailer stuff? We'll just do we'll do a short demo on how we create an invoice when we're selling a boat or a motor.
Yes.
Yes,
Back to your service tickets, your work orders.
Yes, sir.
Boat posted and invoiced. When does that part number you put onto that work order actually come out of inventory?
Fantastic question. I'm going to repeat the question so everybody hears it. The question was, when does the part come out of inventory? And it's a great question because it leans itself toward the problems that are created where people have used retail type systems. In a retail system like QuickBooks, you have inventory on the shelf, and then when you invoice it, it comes off the shelf. So it's either in stock or it's out of stock. And that's how retail systems work. You have one in stock, and then you sell it, and out it goes. The problem in a service environment is that that's not the case. You had one in stock, you took it off the shelf, you put it on the boat because you've installed it, so it needs to come out of stock because it's no longer on the shelf, but I haven't yet invoiced it because I'm still working on the boat. So the answer to the question is, when you do a quote, it does not come out of stock. Estimates don't affect inventory at all, but that middle status of posted, as soon as you post it, it picks the item that you have in stock from the shelf, and the ones that you do not have in stock, it sends to the ordering pad. So you immediately know that your inventory has been relieved because you have work in process, but you haven't invoiced it yet, but the stock has already been relieved.
Thank you.
And that's the correct way to do it when you're doing service work. Would that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so as soon as you the answer would be as soon as you post it. In an invoicing environment, of course, if you just go straight to invoice, it's going to take it out of stock there too in the point of sale environment, but that middle status of posting relieves the inventory. Okay, so going to the boat motor trailer stuff here real quickly, I'm going to give a short demonstration just on how we sell a unit. We have an invoicing module, and the invoicing module is used to sell parts, but it's also used to sell boats that we might have in stock, so anything that we have that's stocked. I do want to mention that the units that we have available for sale, these categories, these yellow folders that you see here are yours to do with whatever you want. If you have consignment units or rental units or other things that you want to arrange in these different folders, you can create these folders, call them whatever you want to call them, create subfolders. Here's my marine folder with boat motor trailer as a sub category. So there's this option for you to create your folders and arrange your inventory. Maybe you have multi-line, you know, Mercury motors go here and Yamaha motors go here, consignment of floored units go here. So you can really use those things at will. If you receive in a large number of motors, you can actually enter them simply by duplicating the serial number. I'm going to go ahead and just add a motor to the system here real quickly, and then we'll take it to the invoice and we'll sell it. So we'll sort by make, and we'll grab ourselves a stocked motor here. And when we go to sell the unit, we're going to take the serial number with us. So I'll take the serial number, go to the invoice, start a new ticket, and we simply scan the serial number because we barcode our units too, and that's going to keep track of the fact that we've just taken the motor and put it on here. We can do the same thing if it's packaged boat, motor trailer. We can look it up on the stock number and add 3-4 line items that would all have the multiple unit scenario where you're selling. I'm going to put the customer's name on here at the top. Let me just use a California tax code just to make it. I can put items on here. I can put fees on here. There's a fees section if you folks are used to charging for prep fees or doc fees or dealer documentation fees. There's a fees category for your sales department to use. So doc title, registration, whatever, DMV, setup, rental, whatever. We have a fees category here. So we can add the main unit that we're selling, boat, motor trailer. We can add fees. We can add a trade-in unit to this if there was a trade involved. All the while that we're doing this, we're in estimate mode still, and this is tied to a sales calculator that we have here at the top of the screen, top dead center. If I click on the sales calculator, this is kind of going to give me an idea of where I'm at with this deal so far. So depending on what we had here as a sale price, and I didn't notice that we didn't put a sale price on the motor, but let's just say it was $11,500. And our fees, we were going to charge a dollar amount for. Actually, we might have a cost customer here. That might be why this is happening, but let's just have a look. I'm just going to go ahead and add an amount. We'll put in, typically these would populate with values, so I'm just going to go ahead and put in a few different values here, and then open up the sales calculator. So you'll
see in that price field, it had a drop-down box.
Pardon, sir?
Back in that price field, you had a drop-down box. So are there different defaults that you can, or different options that you can put in there previously?
Yeah, you know all those different price points we were talking about earlier, where you have your cost and then you have your special pricing. You could have all the way on down the list. See, in this particular case, my sell price was $12,300. My cost was $9,500, and I'm electing to sell it at, let's say, $11,500. You know, so I could go with my original sell price, the MSRP. I could take a little look. The customer can't see it, but if I click in it, I can see my cost, and then I would know exactly what I had to work with margin-wise.
Okay.
Okay, so as I build this invoice, as I'm building this ticket with the items that I'm selling, it's communicating, if you wish, with the sales calculation piece. So when I open it up, I can see what my boat, motor trailer adds up to up here, all my fees that I've added, my sales tax, my total invoice, and then it's computing a monthly payment for me of $403 based on 5.9 over 36 months. So there's actually an interest rate and a loan term over there on the right-hand side. Now, if this customer is looking for a lower payment, of course, and I'm not going to do 36 months, and I drop it to, and I go to 60 months, that drops his payment, let's say, to $256. And maybe the customer says to me, how much would I have to give you down if I was going to get a $200 payment? So if I put in here $200 as a desired payment and do a rollback against the down payment, it's showing me that he would have to give me $2,900. If he gave me $2,900, I could get him a $200 payment over 60 months at 5.9. So this is kind of it's just a nice big sales calculator that you can use to manipulate or control the numbers on the deal. And you can save those and have those associated then with the Commander invoice. And so you can open those up. There's a summary tab for you to see how much money you're making on the deal. Disclosure tab here. There's a roll and compare feature if you want to compare two deal scenarios side by side. So you can say, well, this is our current deal that we have going, but let's take a look and see what would happen if we did that over, 72 months. Your payment would drop, and so we're comparing side by side. We can do a deal by side by side comparison of different deals, current deal and what the deal would look like. That's a nice feature. We introduced the sales calculator fairly recently, tied it together with our sales invoice. And of course, in Commander now, you can continue on to the checkout screen and you can collect your payment and you can invoice it. Something happens when you do that. Let's just say we took a check or it was going to go on open account. If we're waiting for money from a finance company, we can actually close it on open account, push it across, and then just apply the payment when it arrived from the finance company. If you wanted to hold the deal right here, you don't have to go to the checkout window. You could just simply hold it until the payment arrived. So there's different scenarios. Maybe the customer gives you a deposit. They're going to give you $1,000, and you add that payment. Now you've got a lower balance due. You could post that money would go to QuickBooks, but the deal effectively hasn't finalized yet. It hasn't concluded. You can hold it in Commander, or you could go open account, close it, and actually push it to QuickBooks. This all depends on how you run your business. I got asked very directly yesterday. Somebody asked me, is there a way to delay the invoice? And I said, oh, why would you want to do that? And then they said something about rebates and warranty and whatever. And I said, well, I get what you're doing. And yes, I guess if you didn't invoice the deal until, it only stamps it with the date of the invoice when you actually physically hit the invoice button. So evidently they were playing some games, I guess, with rebates and with rebates. But, as soon as you invoice it, it posts to QuickBooks. But at this point, we have the deal all worked up in Commander. We could close it out. Let's say we got a check, paid it, and invoiced it. What this is going to do is it's just going to print a traditional, just a regular invoice. It's a little bit expanded because it will show, what you sold. It shows the year, the make, the model, the hours, the serial number, the whole deal. It's all on there. It's not just like a single line part record, so you can see what you sold. Excuse me. This marks the deal as sold. So if we're to go back and look at the unit, in the unit screen, this is going to update. Actually, let's get that actual unit because we're just looking at stock units. Go back to the invoice here and pull that serial number real quickly, and you'll be able to see what happened to it in the unit screen. And we'll look it up by its serial number. So this unit here that we just sold, this motor that we just sold, notice what just happened. All we did was we invoiced it. The flag moved from stocked to sold, so we know that this is one we've sold. The customer's name is populated here with the motor, and we know who we sold it to. On the detail tab on the back of the screen, it's populated with the date that it's sold. So we actually have the sale date here. So it's captured this information for us without us having to do anything except invoice it. I can also now go over to my service department. Let's say Mandy Hurst came in for service, and we did a search by her last name. We started a ticket for her, and we went to see what inventory she owned. We're going to see here that there's a Mercury motor that we sold her right here. and we can pick it up. Actually, not there. Let's search by make. Here it is here, the one we just sold on 11/16. So it's this one right here. So we have this added to her inventory list of product that she's bought from us already. So the service department would immediately know that this was a unit that was available for service associated with this customer's name. So there's a lot that happens in the background of this particular unit as we sell it. Of course, that makes it available to transfer to QuickBooks. So next time we run our QuickBooks transfer, it's going to push that unit sale across and update our inventory asset account for our boat, motor, trailer inventory on the QuickBooks side. So that's going to show up in QuickBooks. Now, just to kind of conclude the demo, folks, we're coming right up on the end of it here. I showed you the QuickBooks integration piece. So we're done with that. That's going to be free. We currently have a promotion going where we're not charging for the QuickBooks interface, so that's a good deal. That's something you get. X-Charge merchant services integration, if you want to jot down that phone number, or just let me know and I'll have them contact you and give you a rate comparison so you know whether or not setting up a merchant account and having integrated merchant processing would be a money saver. If you want to stay with your existing merchant, that's fine too. That it just means you run it as a side terminal and collect the money. Data conversion, this is if you're switching from one dealer management system to Commander. As I mentioned in the beginning, we can take customer lists, inventory lists, boat, motor, trailer lists, and import that data into our system so that you get a nice jump start getting started. We can't take any of the transactions. So old service order history, work order history, whatever, that stays in the old system. You can sometimes print reports, PDF it, whatever, but we can't import that into Commander. We just get the rest of the actual daily sort of list data, which brings us to the next slide, which is pricing. The price point for Commander is nothing like our competitors that are charging $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 for their systems. We've got a dealer management system that starts at $2,400. Goes up to $2,900 if you want to run 2 workstations, and anything over 2 is just $250 per station. So if you were 3, you could do the math, $3,150. If you're 4, you're $3,400. The maintenance goes up marginally. It starts at $100 for 1 computer, goes to $120 for 2, $130 for 3, $140 for 4. It's just a sliding $10 increment if you're adding seats. Having said that, the renewal fee includes all 3 services that we provide. It's the monthly parts price updates. So that ability to download all the pricing from your suppliers and get that electronically ported into Commander and have your prices updated. You're not paying individually for price files. Those are just downloaded. You're paying a flat rate per month, and you could get 15 files, 10 files, 12 files. It doesn't really matter. Technical support and training is included. So, for example, we have great technical support, folks available to answer questions and also to train you when you first sign up. We're going to connect in, install the software for you. We do all the work of setting it up and installing it. You don't have to get an IT person. In fact, we prefer that you don't. And we'll set it up and install it for you, do the data conversion if you're converting data. And then we have a training class, which I will tell you about in just a second here. Software updates are also included in the maintenance, meaning that, you know, if you've got a program like QuickBooks, you know that every year you've got to come back and repurchase QuickBooks, and they sell you the 2017, then 18, then 19, and so forth. We don't do that with Commander. As we program, you get those features automatically. So when we come out with new stuff, which we release probably 3 times a year, we'll have a release of Commander. It's not just once a year. And as the industry shifts and certain things change, we write code for different things. You get those features automatically. In fact, you can even request features if there's something you'd want to see developed or something you think should be integrated. There's no contract. There's no minimum contract to sign. We don't lock you in. You're simply month to month. And we're not a landlord. We're not going to evict you, obviously. So system options, barcode printers, scanners, cash drawer, those things are ordered separately. So when you get a price quote from me, there will be a section at the bottom of the first page that shows you your system options. If you want to add one of the barcode scanners or, you know, printer or cash drawer, you just have to let me know. Software is delivered through download, and we have 3 slides to go. We're almost done. Commander software is downloaded, so we don't ship you a box or whatever, but we're going to send you an email with a button in it that you can click on, downloads the product to your computer. And then you let us know you're done with the download. We connect in and we install you. We will probably take on another 100 dealers between now and the end of the year. So we've got a pretty good mechanism for delivering the product to you and getting you installed fairly quickly. A lot of times people will call and say, well, you know, how soon can I get installed? And it's usually, well, we could start today. And, you know, it sort of catches them by surprise because other dealer management companies are telling them, well, we can schedule your install for the, you know, for the fall or for spring, or, you know, we're 6 months out right now, whatever the case might be. It's not like that with us. We get it done pretty quick. Software training. We have a weekly training webinar every Wednesday at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We host a webinar that lasts for 2 hours. And this is for new dealers to become acclimated with the system. New hires, you hire a new parts person, new service person, whatever. I have them attend the webinar. After that, we'll do one-on-one training with you. We've got some training videos, and of course, there's an online help menu with the software where you can click in and get support. We provide technical support 6 days a week, every day except Sunday, so we even have somebody available on Saturdays for tech support. And we'll just pause here briefly, guys, for questions, and then we'll wrap this up.
Number one question I have is how you, and I use QuickBooks Enterprise currently.
Yes, sir.
When you sell a package, you've got taxes for your state for the boat, state for the engine. The courthouse collects the taxes for the trailers. You've got fees. All of those are generally written on the same check. And how does that break that down?
The QuickBooks interface that we have when we were creating that invoice, first of all, the invoice that we were creating for our boat, motor, trailer, you'll notice we have our boats, and then we have different fee items, right, that were added. You could have your boat, motor, trailer. You can have your fee items. Commander has, in the sales tax section, you can have one or multiple tax authorities associated with the system. So if you want it all coming across in one total, you can assign the same tax code to it. If you want it coming across in separate totals, you have that option too. Every single item, I would just say this, every single item in Commander can either be mapped to the same tax code or to its own tax code. You'll notice down at the bottom there's a tax code down here at the bottom, and there's also a tax code up here at the top. Now, if you use the tax code at the top, it applies this tax code to all the items on the ticket, and you'll get one total posting across for everything that you've added to that ticket, whether it's a boat, motor, trailer, and also, you know, whether or not it's fee items or apparel or other things, you can push it all across as one total. If you wanted pushing it across as separate totals, you'll assign tax codes to the individual items, and it can tax them at completely different rates. It doesn't really matter. I don't know if your rate is consistent or if the rates are different. Fees versus boat versus motor versus trailer. I mean, there's states that have the same rate. There's states that have different rates. But it really comes down to how you implement the tax code. If you're going to implement it in the header, applied to the whole ticket, or if you're going to implement it by line item. But the mapping utility accommodates both. It accommodates the ability to bring the sales tax across in a single total, or bring it across and break it down into multiple totals, depending on what you're looking for. The same thing on the Commander sales tax report. If you run our sales tax report, you're going to see we can break our sales tax down into multiple tax authorities. So if we run it and we look at the tax summary, you could have a lot of different, I've got a lot of different tax authorities here. So your fees could be here, your boat sales could be here, your, you know what I mean? You could have these all broken down separately with totals if that was something you wanted to do, and see them separately. But if you're writing one check, then your total tax collected would be down here at the bottom. It's still going to add them up for you.
Yeah, and it'd probably be better to talk on a one-on-one basis on this, but my problem comes in when you go into the QuickBooks and you say pay sales tax.
Yeah.
A sales tax payment is different than a regular bill payment.
Yeah.
If you do a regular bill payment, you can quantify that in different aspects, whether it's interest charges or electricity or whatever. On the sales tax payment, it only goes towards sales tax. But you're paying with that check, you're paying the dock fees, the registration fees, the title fees, which are not calculated.
And that goes all in one. That's all in one check.
Right.
So it sounds
So
like if we sent them across into, I mean, if it was me and it was my business scenario, I'd want to know how much was in sales tax. I'd want to know how much was in fees. I'd still want separate numbers for them, but then I'd want some way to add them up, you know?
right.
But I wouldn't want them coming, I don't think I'd want them coming across in one total because I don't really have a good way to audit that. I want to be able to look back and say, well, 10,000 was actual sales tax. Then I had another $1,000 in fees. And so I'm writing an $11,000 check. As to how QuickBooks handles the actual liability of that, we'd have to look at QuickBooks. It sounds like a QuickBooks issue that we'd have to explore together, but I'd be happy to do that. I'd be happy to do that with you.
Okay. Yeah, we can do it later on.
You bet. Now, I do want to make sure everybody gets pricing. This is difficult. I'm going to have to, I'll email each of you after the demo here and just kind of get an idea of questions, time frame, price quotes. I'm going to send each of you. Some of you have already received pricing, some of you have not. So I'll do the work here on my side, send everybody a price quote today. And then, if there's anybody that says, hey, this is great, I want to move forward right away, please let me know because obviously, we'll take care of you first. Those of you that are on a slower track, most people looking at dealer management software at this time of year are looking to implement and go live by the first of the year. It happens every year. This is kind of real typical. So I'm guessing that that's probably the case for 90% of you that are here today. So we can definitely accommodate that, but we need to get the ball rolling. We need to get the pricing worked out, get an order signed and back from you and schedule your installation date. We also need to know ahead of time if we're going to be doing a data conversion for you. And as much as you want to wait as long as you can for the data conversion, we're going to have to be realistic in terms of saying, well, okay, this is the date that we're going to pull the data. Some of you close over the winter for a few weeks, the holiday and New Year's break, and then don't open up until the first or second week of the New Year. So we want to make sure we time all of that correctly and get your data pulled and converted and have everything ready to go for you when you're ready to go live with the system. I really do appreciate everybody's time. Thanks, guys, for attending. If there's please go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
Back a little bit, you were saying if we did decide to go with your system, that it would not pull our old service tickets over into the new system. Did I hear correctly?
Yeah. Where are your service tickets currently? What are they in? What system are they in?
They're in our total control side.
In TCS. Okay. So there is a way to print reports and there is a way to PDF data, but I cannot take historical service transactions. In other words, if they did an invoice or a service ticket in TCS, I can take the customer list, I can take the boat motor trailer list from TCS, I can take the inventory list. I can pull all that out and convert it and get you switched over, but I can't take the physical, historical, transactional data, payments collected and what work was done.
But it will pull our customer list over.
Absolutely,
That's something
yeah.
that will go with it.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Absolutely,
and as
far as your customers, is that just certain hours, Monday through Saturday, or are they there 24 hours a day?
No, it's not 24. I mean, we recognize that we're a West Coast company and that we're doing business with a lot of folks on the East Coast. So our first tech support folks and people show up here at 6 a.m. And then we're here until 5 p.m. Pacific Standard. So in theory, it gives you pretty good coverage. I mean, if you're on the East Coast, it's 9 to 8. Saturdays, most folks are open. We do emergency support on Saturdays where you have a cell phone number that you can call to the tech that's on duty. It's kind of like we're really not interested in doing training or doing price file loading or whatever on a Saturday. But if somebody said, hey, I can't log in, or my system's down, or I need help, whatever, if it's something like, we handle all those types of calls on a Saturday. Like I said, it's 6 days a week. And it's those would be the hours. We definitely do not do support on Sundays, but most of our customers are in fact also closed on Sundays. So not all of them. Any other questions, folks, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I've got a couple of parts-related questions for you.
Yes, sir.
I'll just use Mercury as an example. If a part number supersedes when goes to the new number, does the sales history of the old part numbers also come forward to the new part numbers?
Not currently. It's a good question, though. We're exploring it in a number of different areas. We used to have just a forward supersession, Zeke. So if you looked up a number and you hit the old number in the chain, you could kind of bounce forward and you can see the sales history. But I don't know that we've accumulatively on a supersession forwarded the sales history. Where this also kicks in is with similar items. You know, sometimes I get the item from distributor A and sometimes I get it from distributor B, and then could I combine those items somehow and see their combined sales history? So there's quite a bit of dialogue going on in programming right now. Now that we've written the forward and backward supersession search feature, you know, that's something that's under discussion actually as a feature. So it's a well-timed question, but the answer currently is no, as I understand it.
Okay, and then the other thing that you kind of expounded on there was going to be my second question. You know, if we've got separate vendors providing the same parts, you know, can we kind of combine back and forth or whatever, depending on who's got the better pricing
you can combine them. You can combine them very easily with. I didn't mention this. We do have a cross-reference feature. There's an item reference tab down here at the bottom, and the item reference tab is there. Initially, it was designed so that you could add. If you knew that this neutral safety switch was also, you know, I could also get it from a different supplier as a different number. Most commonly, you know, this OEM number crosses over to this Sierra number, for example, and I want to be able to have those come up. We've created a Sierra cross-reference, and the cross-reference loads into Commander. You don't have to do them one item at a time. We'll load thousands of items, and we'll pull the cross-reference between, let's say, Mercury and Sierra into the system. And anytime you look up that Mercury number, you're going to get a dual result. Or maybe if it's a Land and Sea number, you'll see the Quicksilver product along with the Mercury product. When you look up items, you'll get a dual result, kind of like I did when I looked up this neutral safety switch and I went into the invoice. I got two search results because they have a common UPC code. Came up and it showed me I can get it from Land and Sea or from Donovan, either one, right? And so it's kind of like that. You're going to get a dual result using that cross-reference feature. But for those of you that stayed through this demo, here's something for free, guys. You can log in now, contact C-Star Solutions, and you can get a free login to Sonar. And for those of you that haven't done this yet, actually, I think I have it bookmarked. They've really expanded this product nicely. They've got, I'll show you this. They've got, well, let's do it this way. C-Star has a cross-reference, and even as a retail person, you can get into it. So if you just want to check it out, you go to C-Star Solutions like this, and you click on the Sonar tab right here. And what that'll do is it'll bring you to a screen where it says, keep up to date with our newly products. You can visit our new resources, an orange arrow to the right, and you click on that. And this is the screen you're actually trying to get to. So in here, you can type in an OEM number, and it's going to cross over to Sierra, or you can search by the Sierra number, and it'll cross over to the OEM number, or you can do a model search. If you're looking for a particular engine, go through Johnson, Mercury, or whatever it is you're looking for, you can enter the brand, and then you can get to them that way. Now, just to give you an example, because I don't have any numbers offhand, I'm just going to do as a Sierra number an 18 dash, because that's a lot of their numbers, right? And I'll do a search. And what happens is it comes up like this with the items. So if, for example, I had been searching for this number, let's go to, first of all, show that it has images with it, which is nice. It has the details of the item that you can look at here, and it has the interchange. So I see the UPC code, I can see the item, I can see the interchange. This is actually fits a Yamaha. There's a Mallory number, which, well, they bought Mallory. But here's the Yamaha outboard number. So if I had been starting with the Yamaha number, just as an example, and then going back to this screen, and I had popped in that Yamaha number, I'm looking for this Yamaha number, and I do a search, it comes up and it shows me, oh, okay, that's 18-0020. That's available from Sierra. So there's my crossover. And then I can go to details, and of course I can see the item. Now what we did was we noticed they had a pick list. So guess what we did? Remember how we grabbed the pick list? So if you add that to a pick list, we can port the numbers directly from the pick list into the Commander work order. So we've integrated with Sonar, and most dealers don't even know this product exists. But there is a Sonar Pro up here, and this is free. So this is a free cross-reference application guide that's available. All you have to do is contact them and ask them to, you can actually email in, go to C-Star Solutions and put in your dealer information, and they will create a dealer login for you into the Sonar Pro system. But like I said, you can get to it right now just through their website and bookmark that page. But as far as cross-referencing goes, he has a great resource for you also that you might not be aware of.
Thank you.
And it's free. Free is always good, right?
Very good.
Plugins as a cross-reference, they charge $500 for a year. So I think as soon as everybody finds out that this exists, it'll probably neutralize, that particular product having much value. So, okay, guys. I think any other questions? Yes, sir.
You said that you recorded this. How could we go back and see this later?
I can send you a copy of it, most certainly. I can post it. Which reminds me, I should probably stop the recording at this point. It's still recording. But yeah, you're certainly welcome to view a demo of it. Let me go ahead